Hey, Jake. I am okay. I'm getting ready to log in to do our Wednesday meeting. Why? Ah, crap. I did it again. Okay. Oh, man. Um, well, I honestly, well, yeah. Well, when we had, maybe I got confused because when we did it with Daryl, I just assumed that, that was kind of impromptu and we were just going to handle that. Um, but I feel horrible. Well, I was asked last minute to host, and I don't even know if Matt. Well, I take that back. He just logged in right now. So, okay. Let me catch up with you. I apologize again, and we'll if we damn it, I feel horrible. So. Okay. Oh, okay. I thought I had already taken care of it. So yeah, we need to connect. I'm shuffling way too much, to be honest. So, okay, let me get this thing handled and I'll try to call you right after. All right. Thanks, Jake. Bye. Matt, how are you? You're on mute.
Well, that's a lot better if I'm not on mute. Thank you for
It
pointing
works a
that
little
out.
bit better.
Yeah,
I know because I do it often.
I had another screen open. I was just closing that one out, and so I didn't realize what was going on.
Not much is going on. Well, I shouldn't say that. I mean, I'm busier than a three-legged cat in a litter box, but uh, so are you getting ramped up? Have you already set aside the 13th and the 14th to come to Chicago?
I have. I set it aside when we had a text message exchange or a Facebook exchange, like a while ago.
It has been a little while ago. Yeah.
And I set, yeah, the July, right?
July 13th,
Yeah.
14th.
I blocked out the whole week, the 11th through the 15th, because I
Are
didn't,
you
we weren't sure exactly, how it was all going to play out.
yeah.
So I am so messed up. I keep changing my glasses. I have two separate sets of glasses now because I have one for the computers because these are progressive lenses. That's why, or whatever they're called, transition lenses. No, progressive, whatever the ones.
Yeah, progressive. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've
So
got the same thing, and I sometimes, my eyes are changing so much. Sometimes I wear the other one, sometimes I don't. So, but
so I have that time set aside, yeah, because I'm planning on going to Chicagoland and hanging out with everybody for a couple of days.
well, we're excited to have you come out to the GOB Network Conference and share a backstage pass about how to get into this real estate game.
Well, I'm looking forward to it.
So fantastic. So do you have a presentation that you want to do today? Because I know I think Misi was actually going to do this, and I got called upon to be fill in at the last minute. So I don't know what the agenda is today.
I don't either. So I think it was actually I don't even remember who it was who asked me. I thought it was Vinky, right? Is she involved?
It could have been Vinky, and Vinky's actually at the airport today, getting ready to go to India.
she had, excuse me, I've got like a little frog in my throat. She had me on her podcast, like, I don't know
Couple
how
weeks
long
ago.
ago. Yeah, like I feel like a month or so ago. And then she said, then I got an email from her like randomly, like, hey, would you want to present at the GOB network thing? And I was like, yeah, I'm like, you know, I know Jim, and sure, I'd be happy to. So I can do a presentation, but I didn't,
Well,
I guess I didn't understand. I thought maybe as we got closer to this, I'd get an email explaining, oh, you know, what would be of value to the group.
yeah. Well, let's talk about that, because I love doing impromptu, you know, and just literally pretending there's no one in the room except for you and me,
Okay.
and having a normal conversation. But a lot of people want to do a presentation, and they have one put together, and they were kind of looking forward to that. So you know, that's why I'm asking. We'll do any way you want to do it.
I mean, I'm good with whatever. What is going to be the most value for the people that are in the room and that this is being recorded for? What do you
Well,
think?
I tell you what, we don't know unless we ask them, right? So
Okay.
we're going to have a small group. I will not be able to monitor. Let me go ahead and go live streaming to the rest of the interwebs. So I don't know, I won't be able to monitor Facebook and LinkedIn for questions, but anyone that wants to log in, if you're a GOB member, make sure that you go to your private calendar and log in. And excuse me just a minute here, Matt, it's asking me to log in separately. Okay. And we can go around the room and let the people that are in the actual meeting with us today, see if they have any particular questions. And if they don't, I always can come up with lots of questions, and I'm sure you can volunteer lots of answers. So
Sure. And I do have a presentation that I could go over if needed, but I think Trevor's seen it 3 times now, so I don't want to bore him to tears.
well, if Trevor has seen it 3 times, he ought to have questions.
Jim said everybody that shows up gets $1,000. That's why I came.
But I said Matt was paying it. But I said Matt was paying it. It's from the proceeds of his book.
Yeah, I wish I had that much money from the book sales.
So sadly, I don't have a question, because I could probably do his presentation for him. I've seen it so many times, but it's an awesome presentation. So we shouldn't hold it out for the other ones that haven't.
Well,
okay.
And Jim's always got questions.
Yeah. And I'll go around the room then and just ask if Alina, you're a guest, Samo Financial, would you happen to have a question or want to ask something of Matt?
Jim, thank you. Well, it sounds like you have a diverse audience. For me, it would be helpful to get to know Matt first. I'm sorry, but I don't know much about Matt other than his first and last name. So ideally, I would like to hear slightly more. And I apologize to Trevor and others that have heard that more than once already. I'd like to hear it at least once.
Well, we do have a couple of new guests in. So Matt, do you want to do an introduction? And
yeah, well, you know what, why don't I just let's run through the presentation, because I think it'll give everybody what they're looking for. So give me 1 second to pull that up. I know.
And it's so good, I don't mind seeing it for the 4th time. How about that for a vote of
Thanks. I
confidence?
appreciate that.
It really is.
And
It's a fascinating way to present the topic, and it's very personalized, and I always enjoy that.
Trevor, you will get $1,000, I guarantee you. Jim promised me.
Okay, so Jim's promising everyone $1,000. I have 2 versions. I have 4 versions of this.
Well, you better give the good one then.
So I have the one for you know, just like passive investors, and then the one for syndicators. I'm assuming I should do the one for syndicators here. And then I have 2 versions. I have one without prizes and I have one with prizes. So should I do the one with prizes? That way Jim can save himself several thousands of dollars, and you could maybe get a prize if you get the questions right. Does that sound like a fair way to do it? Okay, all right. So no one's gonna bug Jim for thousands of dollars. I'll do that. So here, let me share my screen. Let me go full screen on this thing. And can you all see my smiling face there?
Yes, sir.
Okay, cool. I'm wearing my Star Wars shirt today, though, by the way. I just have to say, I'm very proud of the Star Wars shirt because it is May the 4th, right? So May the 4th be with you. Hi, I'm Matt Picheny, your backstage guide to passive investing. And tonight I'm going to talk about the top 5 keystone concepts that I used to build my portfolio. Okay. And so as we go through the presentation, you'll learn everything about me, or at least a lot of things about me. Just, quick disclaimer, I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a CPA. There are great professionals that you can go to for professional advice. This is not advice, just telling you the story of my background. And there will be a quiz at the end. So make sure you pay attention, because if you do, you can win some fabulous prizes. Okay, so let's get started. So I wrote a book called Backstage Guide to Real Estate, and the subtitle is Produce Passive Income, Write Your Own Story, and Direct Your Dollars Towards Positive Change. And the reason why I wrote it was there's a meetup group that I ran in Boston, and over a period of a few years, it grew. I mean, we got to a pretty good size where we would have, over 100 people on average at any of our events. And, a lot of the people who attended the events owned maybe a duplex or a triplex in the area, but we're not investing in out-of-state syndications. And that was something that I had been doing and that I found very lucrative, and was sharing information about that with these folks, and would bring in different guest speakers from all around the country, and they would come in and they would talk about the different deals and different things and different aspects of syndication. And people started to get interested. And people would come to me and say, hey, Matt, I know that you invest passively in real estate syndications. And just for you guys listening, like 2/3 of my portfolio are deals I'm a limited partner in, right? So I'm a big proponent of passive investing. I actually just invested in 2 deals this past month from a passive perspective. But then I actively do deals, and I have a deal that I'm working on right now. We just closed a deal recently. So I kind of do a little bit of both. And the people at the meetup knew that. So they would come to me and say, hey, Matt, I'm thinking about doing my first syndication. Would you tell me if this is a good deal or not? Like, should I do this deal? And I would tell them that I will never tell people whether they should do an investment or not, but that I'm happy to look at it and point out some things that maybe I might ask the syndicator about, like some questions, some things that kind of I don't understand. And so I would end up going and meeting these people and spend an hour or two kind of going through the underwriting with them. And obviously I'd have to travel to somewhere and do it. And it was taking 2 to 3 hours out of my day every time I did one of these. And as the group grew and got bigger and bigger, more and more people were asking for me to go ahead and help them. And so I was happy to help. But the big problem was I was running out of time. There's only so many hours in the day. And if I kept meeting with people, I couldn't do my own business. So what I decided to do was, hey, what if I write this all down? And if I write it all down, then I can just give people, this PDF that I might make, and then they'd have all the information on the deal. And so I wrote this little thing I called the Passive Investor's Handbook. It never saw the light of day, because what it was about 80 pages of just like really boring, very dense technical information on like how to look at a deal, which was good to have that information, but it was not really written in a way that was easy for people to understand. So I took about a year, and I took all the information, all the hard facts that I had in this version, and I turned it into the Backstage Guide to Real Estate. And what I did was I decided to take my entire life, or at least my real estate portion of my life, and tell that story. Because the story was fun and interesting, as you'll see in a minute, because I'm going to go through it on a very high level with you. But I also would share the things that I learned. So starting off knowing nothing about real estate all the way to where I am now, an owner of thousands of apartment units. So the early stages of the book talk about, what's an asset, what's a liability. And at the end of the book, I'm doing air rights deals and 1031 exchanges, okay? And I share with the reader the 18 different keystone concepts that I learned along my journey. I also have throughout the book 60 different real estate terms that I define. And so, the book starts off with my wife actually getting a job opportunity in Miami. So we lived in New York. She got this job opportunity completely out of the blue in Miami. We ended up taking it and moving to Miami. I quit my corporate life, and I'll talk about that in just a second. And when we moved down to Miami, I had been working in the advertising world. And so I was looking for a job in the advertising world right when we moved down, but I was also had a lot of free time because I was unemployed at this point because I had quit my job in New York. And I finally got around to listening, because I did the audio book, listening to that purple book, right? Rich Dad, Poor Dad, which 99% of anybody who I ever hear talk about real estate say that this book inspired them, and it inspired me too. So I'm listening to this, I'm listening to Kiyosaki talk about developing multiple streams of passive income. I mean, that was my big takeaway, right? Multiple streams of passive income. So I'm hearing him tell me this, right? At the same time, whenever I'm taking a break from Kiyosaki, I'm listening to the Hamilton soundtrack cast album, the Hamilton cast album. Hamilton had come out about 9 months prior or so. And it was a big hit on Broadway. And the really cool thing is that my wife and I had invested in Hamilton. And I can talk a little bit more about the Broadway investing a little bit later, but as you'll see in a moment, I have a background in theater, and that's what my wife does full time. And so we invested in the show, but we were just also really big fans of it. So I'm listening, Kiyosaki, passive income. I'm listening to the cast of Hamilton telling me, do not throw away your shot. Do not throw away your shot. Meanwhile, I'm trying to get a job in advertising, which I had been doing for 18 years. I didn't really love it. I was kind of burned out, and I had been doing real estate as a hobby for 10 years. And that's kind of really what I wanted to do. And so after listening to Kiyosaki and listening to the cast of Hamilton, they're just all egging me on. I said, you know what? I'm not going to look for a job in advertising. I don't want to do it. I've done pretty well with real estate as a hobby. I'm going to go ahead and do real estate full time. And so I decided to do that. And then that's where I go back in time. And so now at the beginning of chapter 2, I go back in time. I go back to 2001, when I had an advertising agency that I was running, and I was told my business started to implode, and I had 90 days to get out of my apartment. But before we get to there, let me just clue you in on the early days. So this is me in 1976, before my first day of preschool, standing outside of an apartment that we were renting. And this picture is significant in the book for another reason, which I'm not going to spoil, but it's also significant because when I was in preschool was the first time I was in a show. I was the bird in a little play about the creation of the world, actually. And so that's when I caught the acting bug, and I got really into it. I was involved in plays in community theaters and in high school. And actually, while I was in high school, I started working at Disney World. I actually worked at Disney World as a little kid for a little bit of time, dancing in front of the castle. But here I am at 17 years old, dressed as Mowgli from the Jungle Book, dancing down Main Street, USA. When I used to work at Disney World, dressed in a loincloth nonetheless, and a wig. So I moved to New York to pursue a career in theater. I went to the American Musical Dramatic Academy, which is a musical theater conservatory. I graduated from there. And here's what I looked like in 1994, all Beverly Hills 90210 kind of looking, ready to go. And audition. And I auditioned. I did well. 3 days after I graduated from that program, I was off on the road doing a show. And I spent about 6 years doing shows, about 5 years. I did 15 different productions in 5 years, all across the US, tours. And I did an international tour, and I had a great time doing it. This is just some of the shows I was in. But I started tinkering around with computers, there's, you know, a lot more detail and color on all of this stuff in the book. But the thing that I learned from the acting days was about being persistent, right? Julie Andrews, who you might know from Mary Poppins, or she was the lead in The Sound of Music, right? So Julie Andrews is attributed with saying that perseverance is failing 19 times and succeeding on the 20th. And for those of you who appreciated the fact that I'm wearing the Star Wars shirt, Captain Taggart from Galaxy Quest, you know, if you've ever watched that, it's a sci-fi spoof movie. It's an awesome movie. He's always saying, never give up, never surrender, right? So by being persistent, I was able to succeed in theater because you face so much rejection, audition after audition after audition. And I actually tell in the book stories, 3 different stories about how persistence helped me even before the real estate. And it's helped me immensely in real estate as well. I started tinkering around with computers, .com, you know, the heydays were going on. I started working, and I worked over a period of a number of years on Madison Avenue, working at a bunch of different agencies. But the first one was Picheny Productions, which was an agency that I started on my own. And what happened was, as I mentioned, I was told I had my business was imploding because the .com bubble had burst. And my landlord told me I had 90 days to get out. So I found a job working at Showtime. It was a client of mine. And I also went and I bought a place. So instead of renting an apartment, I actually bought an apartment. And 2 years later, well, about almost 2.5 years later, I sold that apartment and I saw my initial investment more than quadruple. So this was the building. And it's interesting because we're on a you know, real estate meetup for multifamilies. A lot of times people are buying entire buildings. I just bought this one little unit, right? So I had those 2 windows. I didn't have the whole thing. But what I did without even realizing it was I added value to the property. I fixed up the unit itself because it needed some work. But I also helped out. So it was a co-op. And so it was run by a co-op board. And I volunteered to be part of a committee. And we redid the lobby. We hired an interior designer and we redesigned the lobby and we redid the hallways and we redid the elevators. And so all of a sudden I had a really nice looking apartment in a very updated building. So, you know, real estate prices were doing really well at the time, but I added value, and that I didn't realize it at the time. I realized it now sort of in hindsight, is that I kind of was adding value in a bunch of these deals that I was doing early on without ever realizing that that was kind of a thing. But figuring out how you can add that value to the asset itself and to the community can be fantastic, right? And so that's Keystone concept number 4. Those are 2 of the Keystone concepts I'm sharing with you today. And I'm not going to go into the details here, but basically, you know, I put $30,000 down on the apartment when I bought it, and when I walked away, I walked away with 130 profit, right? So did very well on that deal. And I said, how do I do that again, right? I really was hooked on real estate. So I went ahead and I bought this. But then again, not the whole building because it's New York City, just the unit, right? So I bought this unit with the profits I had made from that first deal. And then I decided, hey, I'm a real estate genius. I did my first deal. I quadrupled my money. Why don't I do that again? So then I bought my first investment property, which was actually in Goshen, Connecticut, at this beautiful lakefront community. What I ended up buying was just this 1 acre of trees. But over time, we went ahead and we built it. And this is where I learned what real estate was really made out of, like literally from the ground up. We cleared trees, we dug up, this is us pouring the foundation, and we did the whole thing and came out with a beautiful house. And this house is really what set me on the path to where I am today, because I had initially intended that it would be a place that I could use as just a place to get away from New York City, and then rent it out from time to time. It ended up being something that I rented out ever since the day we got the certificate of occupancy, and it was rented as short-term rentals. So I learned a lot about dealing with people, dealing with leases, And also dealing with like all the fun accounting stuff that you have to worry about, things like depreciation. I learned a ton from the house besides just the actual construction of it. I then went ahead and actually bought a duplex. I call it the accidental house hack because I didn't know that there was a term called a house hack, and I didn't know that that was really a thing. What I knew was I needed to sell that apartment on the Upper West Side and move into something bigger because now at this point I was married and we had a kid on the way. So when looking for places to buy in Brooklyn, I realized that I could find a two-family and buy the whole thing. So it was more than what my initial budget was, but from the rental income, I actually be paying less. So I bought this property, a duplex. The upstairs unit, the two units were the same, except for the downstairs unit had access to the backyard. And there was tenants in the upstairs unit, and they were paying more than half of what the mortgage payment was. So I was like, oh, great, this is awesome. And if I ever need to leave, I can rent the downstairs unit for more money because it has the backyard, and also we renovated it, made it look even nicer, and have a nice property that would be cash flowing. So that brings us to the point where then about a year after being in that apartment, my wife got a job opportunity out of the blue, which you'll remember from the first chapter, and we moved to Miami. And when we were in Miami, after listening to Kiyosaki and Hamilton, I decided to go ahead and listen to the cast and take my shot in moving to real estate full time. And that's when I realized that, Miami wasn't really necessarily the best market to look for real estate. It's kind of speculative. Prices are very high. And I decided that I needed to explore other markets. That's the third keystone concept that I'm sharing with you. It's the 8th one in the book. Explore other markets. It's okay to invest out of state. You got to invest where the numbers are going to make sense, even if it's not in your backyard. And in Miami, the numbers just didn't make sense. And so I started flipping properties. So here's some like before and after shots. I don't want to dwell on this too much. We only have a certain amount of time. My favorite before and after is this one because this was disgusting and it looked like this, very beautiful at the end. I also did some single family turnkey investments. I still own to this day, they cash flow really well. So that was fun. And then I started to learn about syndication. I invested in a deal in Albuquerque that didn't really go as planned. And that's when I learned that I really needed to keep an eye on the 3 deal pillars. So, the sponsor, the market, and the deal, right? That's when I really, really learned, especially the sponsor being the most important. That's what I needed to keep an eye on. At that point, I decided, you know what, I need to chart a course to where I'm going. And so I started investing passively in deals. So these are a bunch of deals that I did passively. And then I finally found my first syndication. Remember I said you need to explore other markets. So I had the whole United States to choose from. I could have invested in the Cleveland, Akron area. That's where I had been flipping some houses, got some relatives up there. And I looked in that area, but didn't really find anything that was making sense. But I was looking, and I was also looking in Florida. I was living in Miami at the time. I grew up in Orlando. My parents still lived in Orlando. I was looking at anything from like Jacksonville down to Sarasota. I found a couple deals that looked promising, but nothing was making sense. I was putting in offers and just getting blown out of the water. I ended up looking in Kansas City. I had spent a summer there during my acting days. I thought I wasn't going to like it. Absolutely loved it. I had a really good friend who moved there. So I said, why don't I check out Kansas City? And I started finding in Kansas City some deals that made sense. I underwrote over 100 deals. When I was about 20 deals in, I'm talking about full underwriting. When I was about 20 deals in, I said, you know what? I want to start keeping a spreadsheet because this is taking way too long. And so this is just a little screenshot I did of my spreadsheet that's much, much longer. But I think it was 114. I counted them up and I wrote it in the book, but I think it was 114 deals that I did before I got my first deal, which brings us back to keystone concept number 2, right? Be persistent, right? It's okay to invest out of state, be persistent. And I did a syndication, which I'm sure everybody knows if you're a GOB network, what a syndication is. And I did my first syndication as a sponsor, and it was Sunrise Properties, 132 units in Lawrence, Kansas, almost $10 million purchase price. And it was awesome. We did a really great job. I wrote a whole chapter about the whole story about trying to find the deal and get the deal, operating the deal, and then ultimately that very happy ending where we sold the deal and made a lot of money for our investors. They were really happy. One of the things that I did on this, which is really important, and again, y'all are in this network, you know about this. Choose partners who know more than you do, right? You're looking for a deal, you're gonna go to somebody like a Jim, right? Somebody who is more experienced than you for the new people. And you're gonna talk with them and you're gonna say, hey, you know, Jim, I found this great deal. Can you help me take this down? You know, what do you think of this underwriting? And is this something you partner with me on? Jim, on the other end of it, the last sentence here, he's going to reach down and help other people, right? He wants to help people and help them because he's had people that helped him get to where he is, right? And I'm sorry, I'm picking on you, Jim, but you know, so as you grow in this business, you know, choosing people who know more than you do is really important, I think. I always try to surround myself with people who know more than I do. But I also try to help people because there are people that I know more than I have more experience than, right? So I try to help them up. And through that way, I think that we've created really nice communities here. I mean, there's people that I don't even see everybody who's on here, but I see Angel, I see Trevor, I see Jim, all of the three of them I've done things with. We support one another. We try to help one another. And I think there's a wonderful community of people in this multifamily syndication world who all try to lift each other up. So choose partners who know more than you do. And that was my partner, Justin Martinez, who I partner with on the vast majority of my deals. So we took down this property. You know, we did the whole due diligence, right? I walked personally all 132 units. There was a team of people, but I did set foot in every one of them. In the middle, I'm there, we're scoping the drains, right? We got there's a camera on the end of that thing, and we're checking to make sure that all the plumbing lines go out clearly to the sewer, so we don't have to worry about broken lines. And we're checking the electric, right? Make sure there's no aluminum, make sure there's none of those Federal Pacific breakers, all that kind of stuff, right? And then the last two chapters of the book, I talk about, you know, I sold some air rights. So I basically sold this, right, air, and bought this 6-unit. And it was a 1031 exchange. And so I did the 1031. And so that leads into to that thing. And I did some value add and stuff like that. And like, look, at this point, I've sponsored a whole bunch of deals. I've grown my portfolio quite a bit. We've got another 418 units in Fort Worth that's under contract. We've got 4 deals that have gone full cycle on 4 properties, and those have all done better than what we had projected. You know, so that's been great. And but also my limited partner, like I've grown a lot as a limited partner, and I've invested in, you know, at this point I'm in over 10,000 units altogether. When you look at my limited partner portfolio, and you look at my the deals, because I've got almost 3,000 units that I'm going to be a GP on when this new one closes. So yeah, and I've exited a bunch of the multifamily deals, which is great, and there's more that are exiting now. I'm probably going to need to make another slide soon. And then the last section of the book, because that pretty much ends the book. The last section of the book is really for people who are interested in passively investing. I go through, like, here's questions that you should ask sponsors with, like, a, you know, thumbs up, fingers crossed, or thumbs down. And then I get into details on a lot of stuff. And then I recap the keystone concepts, and then I got a glossary of the 60 definitions, and that's it. That's the backstage guide to real estate. And you know, just to get back to that subtitle, right? It's really what I want people to do. I want them to be able to, hopefully with this book, right? The promise of the book is that you're going to be able to produce passive income such that you can write your own story, whatever that story is for you. And then you're going to be able to direct those dollars to hopefully positive change. You know, I try to make really great improvements on the communities that we invest in, make life better for the residents and for the staff, and profitable for investors. And I have successfully done that, where we can make this a win-win-win kind of situation. And that's basically it. I have some other slides that I'm not going to go into because I think we have some questions and stuff, but on sort of the evolution of my person and my brand that kind of came about as a result of writing the book. But I want to leave enough time for questions and answers. And then I also want to make sure we have time to get to the quiz and give away fabulous prizes. So why don't we open this up to questions? And then once that's over, we'll do the quiz.
That great story. So when is the Broadway show coming up?
The Broadway show. Oh, so
I'm totally expecting it from a New York guy. Come on, I'm right here. I'll buy
I
the
hear you, Alina. I want to know too.
So the about the Broadway stuff, I don't know if this is ever going to be a Broadway show, but about the Broadway stuff, I don't know. I have some friends that are writers. I could ask them. Hey,
We can go off Broadway. I'm fine with going to East Side, West Side. You tell me. I'll go.
Are you Alina? You're in. Oh, that's right. You're in Jersey, aren't you?
Yeah,
I remember that. Yeah. For me and the musical stuff, I team up with my wife, and we've actually produced a couple of Broadway shows. Moulin Rouge, which is running right now, and American Utopia, which closed recently because it was a limited engagement. We won Tony Awards for those. So that's those are back there. So I won some Tony Awards, which is really cool, really fun. But that's something that I do on the side. It's not my full-time thing. It is my wife's full-time job, but it's something that we'll collaborate on together. But my full-time job is the real estate stuff. But hey, no, who knows? Maybe we'll turn it into a musical. We're working on some new musicals right now and that are in development. Maybe I'll talk to one of the writers and say, hey, do you think this has any legs? I don't know. I don't know if this is a musical.
A musical on syndication would be super cool.
For us real estate nerds, yes, but I don't know if that would really appeal to the masses. But maybe, I don't know. It could be interesting. I've actually never thought about it.
There's enough of us that I think could be super cool.
Well, then I'd have to cast it with all, syndicators. It would be like a, little.
I'm raising my hand.
Well, Matt, guess who will be in the audience? All of the LPs, all of the passive investors.
Oh, there you go. I don't know. Maybe we can make something out of this.
Sure. Excellent. Great story. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you. Thank you.
So where are you at right now? Where are you based?
I'm in Brooklyn.
Oh, you're still in Brooklyn. Got it.
Yeah. Yeah. So we were in Miami and then we moved to Boston. So then so out of the blue, my wife got the job. My wife's awesome. She just is. I hope she's listening to this too. No, I don't think she is, but she is though legit awesome. And so she got recruited for this job in Miami completely out of the blue. And so we moved down there, and then she got a call from someone she had known for millions of years and worked not at the same company, but had been in the business with for years in New York. And we got a phone call. And honestly, Miami's great. I'm not knocking Miami, but it wasn't like our cup of tea. And so we got a phone call from New York, and we're like, oh, good, we're going back to New York. And she took, because why would this person be calling her if not to probably offer her a job? And so Erica took the call. She was out on maternity leave. Actually, we were having our second child, and the woman said, hey, started talking with her and was like, so what are your thoughts on Boston? We were like, Boston? But we were like, we like Boston. Like, we've been to Boston. We've gone and visited Boston. We're like, we could do Boston. And so we lived in Boston for 4 years. My wife was running a theater there. And that company, though, was growing and growing and growing. And so as they continued to expand, they created a new position for her to oversee all the programming for all of North America. But they wanted her to do that from the headquarters, the North American headquarters. They're based in the UK. They're huge in the UK, and they're growing here. And they said, we want you to work from the Manhattan office. So we moved back to New York.
Awesome. Very nice.
Yeah, so that was like 9 months ago. It's like end of last summer that we moved back.
Yeah, very nice. Are you still continuing to do both, so LPs and GPs?
Yeah. I mean, like I closed. I closed on one GP deal already. We have another one that we'll be closing on later this month. We also sold one of our deals last month, which was fun. But I've also invested in, I think, 3 or 4 syndications as a passive investor. I invest in my own deals, obviously, too, but about 3 or 4 syndications this year so far.
Excellent. And still with the same partner?
So I work with different partners depending on the deal, but 90% of the deals that I do with Justin and another gentleman named Albert. We tend to work a lot together. We really enjoy working together with one another. This next deal that we're purchasing, Justin actually is one of the owners of it. So he wanted to do it, but it might have been like kind of like a weird conflict of interest to be selling your thing to yourself. So he decided not to get involved in that. But most of the time I do work with those two partners. But I have done things like this one I'm doing right now is not with them. So.
Got it. And so when you work with partners, what is your main role on a deal?
Yeah, so I'm a PMI certified project management professional. I'm really good at managing people and budgets and timelines. That's what I did in the advertising world for 18 years. So that's what I'm really good at. So I work a lot on the asset management. When I work with Albert and Justin has a background and his brother in sort of like exterior construction type stuff. So they tend to deal with a lot of the exterior CapEx types of projects. And Albert has a background as an actuary. So he tends to deal a little bit more with all the financial stuff and dealing with the lender. And I tend to focus on, managing the asset, leading the asset management calls that we have at least once a week, and dealing with the interior updates and looking at the market surveys and determining what are we doing? Because I don't have a degree in marketing, but having been around it for 18 years, I know a lot about marketing. So I'm able to sort of lend a hand with that as well. So the marketing of the property to get prospective residents in. And so that's the kind of stuff that I work on. And then, all of us will work on, we all have relationships with different brokers. So different ones of us will find certain deals, underwrite it. If it looks good, bring it to the team. We all look at it together. Put an LOI in, by the time we're getting to an LOI, we've already kind of figured out, okay, here's what our GP team is going to look like. And we'll also discuss, hey, okay, the purchase price is this, we're going to have to raise this much capital. All right, do you think between us, can we all do it? How much do you think you could do, and blah, blah, blah. And so we get the whole team together. Sometimes we'll bring in other people too, to help out on different aspects. We had one deal that we bought that was 4 properties. And we're like, Justin can't do all that exterior CapEx himself. There's too much stuff. There's foundation work. So we brought in 2 other GPs to help out with all that stuff. And also that one was located in Houston, and none of us are in Houston. And the 2 people that we brought in are in Houston. So we were able to augment the team for all the different tasks that were needed and the necessity to have some boots on the ground there. And so we'll look at it from that perspective and just make sure that there's really good, nice, clearly defined roles for everybody, and see where everybody kind of fits in to the puzzle prior to even presenting an LOI to the seller, because we want to make sure we've got a solid team and that we're going to be able to close on that deal. And then we'll present an LOI. And then most of the time we don't get the deal, and sometimes we do.
Excellent. Are you guys concentrating on specific markets?
We really like Texas a lot. I did quite a few deals, as you saw earlier, in the Kansas City or greater Kansas City area, because Lawrence is really not the Kansas City MSA, but it's adjacent. And I would love to do more deals in Kansas City, but I don't even own anything there anymore, because we got nice offers, and we executed our business plans really well, and we got nice offers, and we went ahead and sold those properties. Had nice returns for our investors. I'd love to buy more there, but I can't find anything that makes sense from a numbers perspective. But we are finding deals in Texas, and sometimes in Dallas, and sometimes in tertiary area markets. Like we have a deal that we bought in Temple last year that is killing it, doing unbelievably well. 200 unit property, smaller market, 90 to 100,000 person population, but that's a population of Lawrence as well. I won't go any smaller than that. I think it puts too much risk into the deal, but you get a population of 90 to 100,000 people. That's a decent population, and we were able to find a nice deal in that area that made sense.
Excellent. Very nice. Great story.
Thank you.
So anyone else want to ask Matt a question?
Yeah. Hey, Matt, how's it going?
Hey, Rich.
Hey, a quick question for you. When you start working on these deals and you have a certain SEC attorney that you're working with, do you keep that one with all your projects, or do you ever have a need to change it up?
So I was working with, I'm not going to mention any names here because I don't
Okay,
want to
no
throw
worries.
anybody under a bus. There was one that I was working with that I loved as a person, and they two times the two times that I worked with them, I had problems with meeting deadlines and things of that nature. So then I moved on to a different person, and I've used that person for every deal I've done since. I spoke on something last night, and there was a guy who does cost segregation and was like, hey, you know, can I reach out to you about cost segregation? I was like, yeah, you can, but like, I have a relationship with somebody. They consistently perform, right, very well. I enjoy working with them. So I'm not gonna, like, I value relationships that I develop with people. So I have an SEC attorney that I love that knows also, like, I have certain things that I want in my deals and certain things that of the way that my things are structured. And so they know that. So it makes it work very well. And as long as they deliver, you know, on the timelines that they promise, which they have been, and their pricing is, I think, you know, commensurate with the rest of the market, right? It makes sense. For me, I don't have any reason to necessarily leave them. Now, if they start not delivering, or, you know, there starts to be problems, then I would open up and explore other options. But that's just kind of my my perspective on building long-term relationships with people and being sort of a loyal customer, I guess.
I hear you. Thanks.
Any other questions, or should we get to the fabulous prizes?
Well, we are coming up on the 15-minute mark, so we can do the fabulous prizes, and then if we still have a little bit of time, we can ask a couple more questions.
Okay, let's do it. So let me go back to sharing my screen. And all right, can you guys seeing this? Quiz time. So here's the deal. Raise your hand. Do not call out. Please, please, please do not call out. Raise your hand. You can either do it like physically and Jim will call on you, or you could, there's a way to do it from the reactions down at the bottom, but like Angel just did. So raise your hand if you know the answer. Angel, you have to put your hand down. You know, I didn't ask the question yet.
Angel's always super fast.
Okay, so here we go.
I apologize.
Question number one. Who is attributed with saying perseverance is failing 19 times and succeeding on the 20th?
Now, because we're doing screen share, you're going to have to use the reactions on your computer. And Angel is first up again. Go ahead, Angel.
I am, but I don't remember.
Oh,
I remember the conversation. Was it, it was a lady?
I'll give you a clue. It was not Mary Poppins.
Oh, but it was Julie Andrews.
It was Julie Andrews. Angel, you've won a fabulous prize.
Yay!
You win an autographed copy of Backstage Guide to Real Estate. So if you send me an email, matt@picheny.com, it's really easy. It's my first name, matt@picheny.com, and I know you have it, Angel. You can send me your mailing address and I will mail you a copy of the book.
Here,
Signed copy of the book.
I'm so excited.
Right. Good. I'm glad. I hope you enjoy it. Question number two. What can you add to a deal that may have a dramatic and positive impact on your bottom line? This is not like a specific thing. This is just in general, like, thought. Like, what can you add to a deal that may have a dramatic and positive impact on your bottom line?
Uh-oh, we have someone else up. Kate Trevor.
You can add value.
Value. That is right. Add value. Trevor, I know you probably already have one, but you win an autographed copy.
Well, I don't have an autographed one.
So shoot me an email with your mailing address and I'll get that in the mail to you.
You're awesome.
No, thank you. Question number three. Fill in the blank. Explore other
Uh-oh, I don't know who came up first, but we're going to pick someone. The first one I seen was Nicole.
Market.
That is right. Explore other markets. Nicole, you win an autographed copy of Backstage Guide to Real Estate. So please
Yay!
send me an email, matt@picheny.com, with your mailing address, and I'll put it in the mail for you. Okay, question number 4. What are the 3 deal pillars? There's 3 of them. You need to know all 3. What are the 3 deal pillars?
Charlie Hardage.
The sponsor, the market, and the deal.
That is right. The sponsor, the market, and the deal. Excellent. Charlie, you win an autographed copy of Backstage Guide to Real Estate.
Awesome.
Shoot
Thank
me
you.
an email with you're welcome. Shoot me an email with your mailing address and we'll get that out to you. I'm losing lots of money today, man. These cost, but you know what is crazy? It costs almost as much to ship the darn things as the books themselves. Okay. Question number 5. Choose partners who blank, 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 blank.
Rich
Rich.
Kramer.
Oh, no more than you do.
Yes, choose partners who knew more than you, like Mr. Einstein here. Excellent. Send me your mailing address because you've won an autographed copy of the book. And the final, very hard question here. Fill in the blanks. Now you know why I went over the subtitle for the book 17 times. Backstage Guide to Real Estate. Produce passive, write your own, and direct your dollars towards.
Lacey. Uh-oh, we might have lost Lacey. Let's see if I have a second hand up. Somebody better get a second hand up quick.
Produce passive blank, write your own blank, and direct your dollars towards blank blank. All right, I'll start.
Okay.
I'll give you a hint.
Rich is raising his hand again,
Oh,
but I don't know if we want to let Rich win twice.
Okay, yeah, you're right. No, someone else go. I'm done.
I'll start filling it in. I'll give one of the answers and then see if we can get another hand up. Produce passive income. We got a
Reggie
hand.
has his hand up.
I'm
Reggie,
going to
go
take a
ahead.
crack at this. Produce passive income, write your own book, and direct your dollars towards marketing.
No.
Oh, see, I wasn't here.
I am sorry. Anybody else? He produced passive income. I'll give you the next one. It's write your own story, right? Because the whole point of this is that you make enough income passively that you can do whatever you want. That's writing your own story. And then I'm hoping that you will direct your dollars toward
Helping others.
close. Another way of saying that might be
Generational growth.
that's another way
generational
of
wealth.
saying it, but what I was looking for was
Writing your own.
positive change.
Ah,
Yeah,
All right,
produce
well,
passive income, write your own story, and direct your dollars towards positive change.
I think Reggie needs to get a copy. He tried really hard there, Matt.
Okay, Reggie, send me an email with your mailing address, and I will mail you a signed copy of Backstage Guide to Real Estate. And I think that's about it. I mean, I think we may have a little more time if there are any other questions out there.
We do. I have a question, Matt. Do you have a website, or do you want to share other ways people can get in touch with you?
I do. So you could just go to Picheny.com. Here's what's great about Picheny.com. Not only can you schedule an appointment with me from the contact page or just shoot me an email, not only can you buy the book, but I've been posting, I think, really great blog articles about real estate, and some of them are pretty elementary, and some of them get into some real weeds on different things. So I think that is going to provide a lot of value to people. So that's the blog on there. It's called the Backstage blog. I also have a monthly newsletter where I'll send out investment tips and things of that nature. So it's all available on Picheny.com, Picheny.com. So check it out.
And Matt, do you have a call to action giveaway of any type on the website if
Nope.
people are going there?
Nope.
Okay.
Nope. I'm going to create a lead magnet at some point from some portion of my book, maybe. But yeah, no, there's no giveaways. Only if you join the GOB network live.
$1,000.
You get then you get if you can answer the trivia questions, you get free books. But other than that, I'm not really doing any other giveaways or anything.
Okay. Well, I want everyone to know, because we did have people come in all during the presentation, that Matt is going to be one of our featured speakers at the GOB Network Conference coming up July 13th and 14th, and hoping that everyone stays over the weekend to have some more in-depth networking and visit the great city of Chicago, and maybe see some of the off-Broadway shows in Chicago's theater district also.
Okay, can I just say one thing?
Go ahead, sir.
Moulin Rouge, which I am a co-producer on, is in Chicago right now. They just started the national tour. It's in Chicago right now. It won't be in Chicago when we're there, or I would have gone and seen it. But if you're in the Chicago area, go see it. It's freaking awesome. My wife flew out there to see it on opening night and said it was phenomenal. So go check out Moulin Rouge, Jim, and anybody else who's in Chicago. It's really good.
Yeah, my wife loves doing the shows with her girlfriend, so I'm never invited.
No, Jim, you should go though. It's a good one. It's fun. It's definitely not like your traditional musical theater. It is very contemporary, great music. I mean, it's fun, man. It's fun.
Matt,
well, I had a broker, the broker who was on my deal that just sold, okay, a few weeks ago. He flew to New York to take me out to dinner to celebrate the closing, right? And he knew that we won the Tony for Moulin Rouge, and he said he wanted to go see it. So I got us house seats, and we both went. House seats are like, you have to pay for them. The best seats in the house. They're reserved for the producers. We went, we saw the show, and he was like, wow. He's like, that was so good. Like, I had no idea it was going to be that good and that much fun and like so cool. And I was like, yeah, it's like a really cool contemporary show. It's not like Oklahoma. So, and nothing wrong with Oklahoma, but very different style. So Jim, I think you might want to check it out, man. You might be surprised.
Well, I was thinking if Glenn Ross can make it, that's about real estate. We ought to be able to do a musical about syndication.
And maybe if I can get David Mamet to write the book for the musical, it might be as good as Glenn Ross.
There you go.
What a great show. What a great show.
Or maybe we make an interactive version of it, like a Tony and Tina's wedding.
Oh, there you go. Oh, that could be really interesting.
That could be interesting.
That could be very interesting.
All right. Any other questions? We do have 5 more minutes. Anyone want to ask something of Matt?
Matt, could you put your email in the chat?
Oh, yes, I will do that right now. But it's just my first name at my last name.com, matt@picheny.com, and I just put that in the chat. So yeah, don't forget to email me if you want a copy of the book, and I'll get those out soon.
Any other questions for Matt?
Hey, how's the property on Tesoro going? Did that close?
Tesoro at 12, yeah, we closed on that a couple of months ago. It's going very well. We don't even have our first full month of financials because we closed it in mid-March. So we should be getting the April final financial, but we look at sort of the progress on a weekly basis, and occupancy is good, collections are good. So far it's looking very good. We're very happy with it. And so we're starting to execute our value add plan. Actually, we already did the water conservation program, has already been done. So yeah, things are going well.
Nice.
Thank you for asking, Rich.
Sure.
And Matt, did you, quick question before we end, did you syndicate an apartment first or a production first?
Well, apartment. My wife had syndicated some Broadway stuff, right? But I wasn't involved with it. We didn't know it was like we didn't know it was a syndication. So I went to the real estate guys' Secrets of Successful Syndications when I first learned about like what syndication was. And I walked away with that weekend. I don't know, I came home like, Erica, I'm like, we already know what syndication is. She's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, the shows. I'm like, you know how it always says like 506C on it? She's like, yeah. I'm like, that's a syndication. She's like, really? I'm like, yeah, it's a syndication. There's two kinds you can do. And so it had like a private placement memorandum and a subscription agreement and the company agreement, like all those legal docs. Like we had seen them before. We had been, I just didn't know it was like that it was called syndication. It just was like, oh, that's how they do the Broadway shows. And it was kind of really funny. Obviously there's a lot more nuances to it when you're doing it for real estate, but like essentially it's kind of the same thing. And I was like, oh, wow.
And we don't generally know the GP team as a GP team in Broadway or in TV. We generally call them something else, right?
Producers.
There we go.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really interesting because when I talk about, Erica and I have actually been on a couple of podcasts. I've done a couple myself, but I prefer to do them with her, where we'll talk about Broadway stuff, because some people are like, oh, that's really interesting. Will you come on the podcast and talk about it? And we'll talk about it. And what I do a lot of times is I'll translate or like draw analogies of something that happens on the Broadway side versus on the real estate syndicators side, right? Like your GPs are called producers, right? Or different things like that we'll talk about where there's just a lot of similarities, but I can take like a Broadway show and like there's a thing called like a recoupment chart, and that's basically like your pro forma, right, for real estate. So different things like that. So it's it's funny. There's tons of parallels.
And have you syndicated anything other than the entertainment and apartments? Have you done anything like an alternative asset, golf course or a winery or restaurant or something? So.
I have not. Yeah. I've invested in some things that are not real estate or Broadway, but I've never been a partner in one of those things.
All right, Daryl, thank you. So that kind of wraps up the end of the show. And if Matt has anything he wants to end on, we'll let him take us out.
Well, I just really hope that you got value out of the talk today, and I truly do hope that you produce passive income so that you can write your own story. And then I hope that story is going to bring some positive change into the world. So thanks for listening to me today.
Thank you very much, Matt. We really appreciate you being here. And if you guys want to get an opportunity to meet Matt in person and get a chance to talk to him a little more in depth, make sure that you come to Chicago July 13th and 14th for the GOB Network Conference. So thanks, guys.
Thanks, Matt. Thanks, Jim.
Thank you, Jim. Thanks, Matt.
Thanks, Matt. Thanks, Jim.
Thank you. Hey, Jim,
Yes,
can
sir.
I give you I think I have your number, but can I give you a quick call? I want to just chat with you for like 2 seconds.
Yep, 715.
Let me hold on 1 second. I think I have you in here, but I want to check. I do not. So let me create new contact. I have your email, but not your phone. What is it again?
715.
Yep.
301.
301.
0105.
0105. I'll call you in just a moment.
Okay.
All right. Thanks.
Talk to you soon.